Hi guys, do you know anyone, or maybe it's even you, that fantasizes about a perfect relationship, very idealistic type of relationship where passion is high, connection is on fire, you don't have to say a whole lot to the other person and they just get you? Well, if this sounds familiar, you might be a vacillator. And what a vacillator is, it's a ambivalent preoccupied attachment style or love style. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. It's very interesting. Stay tuned. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sandy. I'm a licensed and marriage family therapist, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. Okay, so let's get into today's topic, which is all about the vacillator, or otherwise known as the ambivalent, preoccupied, anxious attachment style. Okay, that's a big name, but they tend to be preoccupied in their thoughts or preoccupied with the current idealization of the moment. And they're also ambivalent as well because they go back and forth in their position of something, kind of wondering where they should land, and they don't always land on something, and so they just continue to go back and forth between two states of emotions. That's what vacillating means. Okay. So I want to go over 5 typical signs of being a vacillator. The first one is being idealistic, and then at the opposite side of idealism is being disappointed or devaluing something. So they go from idealizing, projecting perfection or idealistic ideas onto a person or a thing or a project, and they put this, let's talk about a person, they put this person on a pedestal and really just only focus on the positives and the ideal traits or attributes of this person, and they will focus and maybe dwell on these traits and just kind of ruminate on them, replaying it in their head over and over and over. And so they're idealizing this person, and then let's say this person makes a mistake or does something that is contrary to the idealized thoughts of the vacillator, and this person that they're idealizing makes a mistake, says the wrong thing, behaves in a way that doesn't make sense to the vacillator. The vacillator will tend to now go to the opposite end and feel very disappointed with this person or start to devalue them in their mind. This may not happen right away, but it happens over a pattern of time. And so they go from idealizing, pedestal, to then the person makes a mistake. And then this vacillator is very disappointed and might devalue this person. And the devaluing might be to just kind of notch them down in their ranking, or maybe even start to really just see flaws in the person. And then now the vacillator is leaning more towards negativity at this point. And they might come back to the positive side when the person redeems themselves, but the vacillator has a hard time finding the middle ground where they can integrate the good and the bad in the person. And they'll just see the person as all good or all bad. All right, does that make sense? All right, so number 2 is preoccupied with relational closeness and distance. So vacillators are very preoccupied with how close they perceive the relationship to be and how distant they perceive it to be. Because remember, vacillators want a constant stream of connection and reassurance in the relationship, and they want it on level 10. Okay, they don't really settle for level 5, level 1. No. We want it on level 10 all the time. And so when the vacillator and their partner are connecting and they're close, all is well with the vacillator. Now, once the other partner pulls away for whatever reason, it could be because they have to go to work, or maybe the partner's an avoider and they emotionally shut down or disconnect in some way, the vacillator's spidey senses go up and they're in a state of panic, and then they'll start to be preoccupied with, they'll kind of obsess or ruminate and think about it. What does this mean? What did they say? They might parse out the words that were said earlier in a conversation and put meaning to it and try to figure it out. And oftentimes, if the vacillator does hook up with the avoider a lot, and the avoider in the relationship does not communicate very well, the vacillator is left to sort of figure things out on their own and figure out where they stand in the relationship. So the vacillator will spend a great deal of time being preoccupied in their mind of feeling unsettled with the security of the relationship. Okay, number 3. Vacillators feel abandoned if someone differs from them or separates from them emotionally. So let me speak about abandonment. So vacillators have a core wound of abandonment, emotional abandonment in childhood. And this is because a parent was either inconsistently available to them, or maybe one parent was available and another parent wasn't. In some form, there was intermittent connection with a parent. So this is the pattern that they're duplicating in their relationship. So an inconsistent connection. So they often are highly acutely aware of any kind of disconnect from them, the vacillator. So abandonment is the feeling that comes up when there's a disconnect and they don't understand why. So if someone differs in opinion, has a different opinion, or separates from them in some way, maybe wants to go out with their friends and leaves the vacillator behind, or has a different opinion on a topic that the vacillator is very passionate about, and the other person does not notice the hurt or the insecurity or the abandonment in the vacillator feels this abandonment, and it's extremely painful, and they act out their hurt in ways of protesting, going into a dark mood, being a little moody, being brooding, things like that. But basically what I want you to understand is the feeling of abandonment that the vacillator feels when someone is not on the same page as them. And oftentimes vacillators tell me that they feel betrayed, that the person doesn't think like them or even understand their position. To be honest, contrary to popular belief, vacillators don't need you to agree with them. They don't want you to agree with them. They want you to have free will. They just want to be validated and understood why they have a different position than the other person. So they're really looking to be validated and heard in that moment versus agreed with. So if you don't understand this and you don't validate the vacillator, they can feel very emotionally abandoned. Okay, so we're on our fourth sign here, and this is that vacillators tend to complain about issues or their needs, and they tend to blame others for causing this feeling of discomfort or feeling bad about something. So instead of requesting what they need or figuring out what they need and pose the need in a request form, they tend to complain and then blame their partner for the bad feelings. And this is because they're unaware that their partners can't read their minds. They think that the partner can read their minds because they might have told their partner in the past about how they feel or what they need. However, if you are married to an avoider, they probably didn't understand you. So you're thinking they understood you, and you think they got the memo, but they did not. And the vacillator is going to be very upset that you didn't figure it out and that you don't know what they need. So they have a really hard time asking directly for what they want and need, because vulnerability is very difficult for them, because being vulnerable means that you can hurt me. So they try to avoid that. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So here we are at number 5, mood shifts. People describe the vacillator's mood shifts as going from 0 to 100. Does that sound familiar? Well, that's what happens. So the vacillator tends to be preoccupied with something, like I said in the previous points. And when someone comes upon their preoccupation with a trigger, maybe something is said, maybe something's not done, and it triggers the vacillator's emotion, then it kind of jolts it to the surface, and then the vacillator's kind of suddenly impatient without warning, and it spills over on who's ever in front of them. Usually it's their spouse. And what this is just an agitation and buildup of anxiety and tension, and it just comes out of nowhere. That's what it seems like, at least. And at this time, this is when the vacillator will go into an all or nothing phase, and they'll get catastrophic in their thinking and in their words. They'll say things like, you always, you never, this will never happen. So absolute statements start to come up. They might even talk in terms of, I can't do this, I'm done, this is over. So very intentional and dramatic statements, which they usually never follow up with later, but they say it in the moment, they mean it in the moment, and it's a way to kind of release and discharge the tension buildup. So just to recap the mood shifts, just look out for sudden shifts in mood, and it goes pretty intense from really just neutral to really, really high, really quick. And then what happens after they release the adrenaline and the emotions and the intensity, then they'll calm down, because actually adrenaline is now leaving their body. They'll calm down and then get neutralized again, and sometimes regret or have shame over the delivery of their emotions and feel very embarrassed about it. But they keep this, I guess, in private. They don't disclose the shame that they feel, the regret that they feel. Okay guys, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching this video on the Vacillator Love style. And the next video that will follow this is how to heal the vacillator wound. So some tips on how to improve this emotional wound.